I think for peace to really happen in our world, we don't just need the experts or the clerics or the professors to be talking to each other. We need common people to be talking to each other. And one of the really amazing things that I see at work in the Hizmet movement is that it's doing just that. The Hizmet movement represents Islam by offering is making some very significant contributions believes that interfaith dialogue has a very, very My name is John Barton. I'm on the Faculty of Religion at Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. My areas of special interest are Christian studies and philosophy, and especially intercultural and interfaith studies. I also help direct the University Center for Faith and Learning, which explores the relationship between academic development and faith development. You know, certainly the Hizmet movement represents Islam by offering examples of Muslim people, people who practice the Islamic faith, who are devout Muslims, examples of people from that background and from that faith who contribute to world peace, who serve other people in the name of common humanity, who don't discriminate who receives their service. They serve Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And so they contribute by being humanitarians and giving Islam the name of service for people maybe in my country or my communities that wouldn't otherwise think of Islam in that way. Let me tell you the story to illustrate this. I was a Christian missionary in East Africa for many years. And so I went with the conviction of the Christian faith to go and try to build peace, to spread the message of peace, to serve people, to heal people who are sick, to try to alleviate poverty, to address issues of injustice, and to do so from the perspective of my faith. The first time I lived in the country of Uganda in East Africa. The first time I went to Turkey, we were in the home of a family. They are members of the Hizmet movement. They welcomed us into their home. The gentleman didn't speak any English, so we were speaking through a translator. But we met his wife, we met his children. One of his young sons came and sat on my lap, and I read him a book in English. You know, we got to know each other. We ate together. And then we were going around sharing something of our stories, our lives together. And I asked him through a translator, what do you do? And he answered, well, right now I'm helping to build a hospital in Uganda, East Africa, to heal people and to serve people and to try to alleviate poverty. And immediately I felt this connection with him because we were working in the same place in Uganda, East Africa, and we were working for the same things to try to help people and serve people and alleviate poverty and heal. And you know, I felt this immediate solidarity with him. And so when you ask what face or what picture of Islam is being promoted by the Hizmet movement, I would say that face. That's what I see. That's the Islam that I see. I see an Islam that is serious in their conviction, serious in its conviction, but also using those convictions to serve and to help. And I found a lot of similarity with what my own Christian faith teaches me to do and calls me to do. And I felt a lot of unity and solidarity with that. So if that's the Islam that's being promoted by the Hizmet movement, I can only hope and pray that I will project a similar picture of Christianity to people that meet me and hear about what I do. Because I know there are parts of the world where Christianity also has a bad reputation. And people think about the bad things that Christians do, and there are some Christians that do some very bad things. There are people that do bad things in the name of Jesus Christ. I want to change that perception through service and through love and through peace and through reconciliation, through trust. And I see the members of the Hizmet movement doing the same thing from a Muslim perspective. I'm one of those people that believes that interfaith dialogue has a very, very important role to play in the current global environment. Religion continues to have a very large influence and impact on a lot of people, on a lot of communities, on a lot of policies. So I think interfaith dialogue is extremely important. And what I see in the Hizmet movement is very important because this is what I see in the Hizmet movement that I appreciate. I think for interfaith dialogue to be effective, you must involve a large number of faithful adherents to all the different religions. A lot of times interfaith dialogue becomes an academic thing. It's a very narrow academic area of study and dialogue. And so you'll have just a few high-level academics and experts in the field that get together and have their conversations about interfaith dialogue. But many times the masses, the people, the common people, the people that are out there working and living and practicing the religion are not part of those dialogues, or maybe even don't understand the dialogues very well, and they're not pulled in to be participants, and that's a problem. I think for peace to really happen in our world, we don't just need the experts or the clerics or the professors to be talking to each other. We need common people to be talking to each other. And one of the really amazing things that I see at work in the Hizmet movement is that it's doing just that. As I learn more about this movement, I see this massive community, or let me say sets of communities, that are influenced by Mr. Gulen and by the Hizmet principles, and a very, very large and influential group of people in today's world that come from a Muslim perspective, but that are committed to interfaith dialogue and to building bridges of peace to people of other religions. And I deeply, deeply appreciate that. And that certainly is what I'm also trying to develop and to nurture in my own Christian communities in the United States and elsewhere. And that gives me hope. I've had some opportunity to visit some Hizmet schools to see their educational philosophy at work, and again, you know, I'm an educator in the United States. I have a Ph.D. I'm a professor at a university. I've spent much of my life in education, higher education, and other forms of education. So I believe very much in the value of education. But I also believe that education can be used as a tool for positive, toward peace and toward reconciliation and toward positive growth. It can also be used as a tool for destruction. There are a lot of very educated people that do some really horrible things. And so I've been interested in the Hizmet movement's approach to education. And a few of the things that I really appreciate. I appreciate that they have a commitment to the highest levels of quality in education. I think that is still being developed in some places. I think it needs to be developed more in some places, but they have that commitment. They want to provide the highest level of education. They also do it in an environment that is not proselytizing. In other words, they don't use their schools and their educational facilities to just try to proselytize or promote a certain religious perspective. They don't apologize for their religious perspectives, but they don't use the education to promote that or to proselytize. And so I appreciate that balancing act, the separation that they have, but the balancing act. And then I also very much appreciate the way they promote the liberal arts, what I would call the liberal arts. Good writing, good reading, the integration of science and religion. I appreciate those emphases very much, and I'm really impressed by what they're doing. I've had the privilege of witnessing the humanitarian type projects of people affiliated with the Hizmet movement on 3 different continents: North American continent, in Turkey itself, and in Africa. And again, this is another place, another area where I find a lot of shared interests and solidarity with members of the Hizmet movement. I used to live in Africa, and in Africa we've worked very hard to try to address issues of poverty alleviation, to help address issues of injustice, women's empowerment, to try to help with education issues, with healthcare issues. This past summer, I was in East Africa. I was in a small town of Jinja, Uganda, where I used to live, and I'm involved in a number of projects. I actually help run a nonprofit organization that drills water wells and does education projects and does community education and community development. We do microloans, we do fair trade business. And while I was there this summer, I actually met a few Turkish gentlemen they're affiliated with the Hizmet movement that have just moved to Uganda to start a hospital. And I met this very highly qualified, very sophisticated physician. He had been to the United States, he'd worked in Turkey and Istanbul for many years, and he just made a 10-year commitment to live in a little town in Uganda, East Africa, to build a hospital and to serve underprivileged people. I tell you, man, it almost makes me emotional to tell that story, because when I see that, you know, we can talk about theories of humanitarian aid and theories of humanitarian relief, but when I go to Uganda, a country that I love, a country that I have invested many years in, where I've tried to do my part from a Christian perspective to serve people and do humanitarian relief, and I meet there people of the Hizmet movement who are doing the same thing, I think I gain a real picture of what this movement is about, and is very encouraging to me. I find people who are faithful, they're serious about their beliefs, their religious beliefs, they're practicing Muslims, and they are finding within the Muslim teaching and the Muslim tradition resources for dialogue and toleration and peace. And I think that's incredibly profound. And I think that's the biggest contribution of the Hizmet movement and Mr. Gulen and his influences in the world.
We are a global society. And especially for the Gulen movement, because it leads in education, because it leads in interfaith dialogue, it's an important voice in this country particularly, so this country can fully understand and really embrace the Islamic culture.